taster.
I wanted to do a selection box, and I wanted it to have variety. And I wanted to bring all the watches that kind of had a story behind them.
Guys, bloody hell, here we go. This is one that's going to be brilliant. Miles Langford, lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you.
How are you,
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to do this with you. I'm worried I'm going to get eaten alive if I say the reference numbers wrong. But I'm going to do my very best. I'm going to do my very best.
But that's one of the big misconceptions of the watch world is I think you don't need to know those reference numbers to
I
feel
do
like you have a say.
I like to. People be like, I'm like just rattling off the reference numbers, but let's see how I hold up.
Right, Miles, bit of background. So you own the London Social, 2 locations, tattoo studios in London.
Yep.
Something interesting to come down the line.
Yeah.
Can we talk about it or not yet?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're branching out. We're moving into the north of England. That's the next step. We've got an amazing team around me. I'm very, very blessed to have a great group of people working hard by my side on the business, and it's time to scale up and to carry on this takeover. You know, we've sort of really cemented our position in London, and now it's on to the north, and from there the globe, I guess. How
did you get into all this? When did you first start tattooing? When did you realise it was what your future was?
I found my way in tattooing, or found tattooing, or being tattooed from 11 years old. I saw a picture of the singer from Linkin Park, and that was it. I never wanted to have one tattoo. I always wanted to be heavily tattooed. I was obsessed with it. I was drawing on my arms in school with Sharpie. I was really immersed in it from an early age, and life took me a kind of on a strange path. I was in bands. I travelled the world modelling, and at one point I was living in New York in my early 20s. And my girlfriend at the time got frustrated with me just smoking weed all day, every day, and said, you need another job other than modelling. And I was like, I've always wanted to be a tattoo artist. And of course, she rolled her eyes, said, of course, it wasn't going to be conventional. But then got my apprenticeship, learned to tattoo in New York City. That was coming up to 10 years ago. Went from New York to LA, back to New York in a space of sort of 4 or 5 years, and moved back to England 2017.
Wow.
Started the business in 2019, 2020, and kind of onwards and upwards ever since.
What does it take to be a good tattoo artist?
For me, it was everything, and that's something that I think I struggle with now, is watching people come into the industry who aren't as in deep. For me, you'll probably hear when we talk about our watches, anything I do, I think inherently I just go all in. So for me, it was like understanding the tattoo history, understanding how they came about their craft, understanding the craft, like the lineage, all the people who developed it into what it is today, and to tip my hat. Like the London Social is called the London Social because Mark Mahoney, one of the pioneers of fine line tattooing, owns the Shamrock Social Club in LA. So I wanted to do a nod to the social, and that comes just from understanding the backstory. And for me, it was all or nothing. I sacrificed that relationship. I ended up sacrificing that because it went from being around, being accessible all the time, to I'm not doing anything else other than drawing. And I wouldn't give up an opportunity. Still to this day, I struggle. I still struggle now. I would, when I was setting up the London Social, I would tattoo from 11 a.m., finish at 7, 8, 9 p.m. because I funded it all. And I'd get home 9, 10 p.m. I'd get a phone call. Yo, there's a rapper here from America. They want to get tattooed right now at the Sanderson Hotel. Before the phone call had finished, I was up with a hoodie on, getting ready to leave. And it wasn't because I was a fan of that rapper. It was because I was so determined not to let anyone else have that opportunity, because I wanted to be where I am now. I was so determined to be the #1 guy in this sector. Whether people want to say it's ability, whatever it is, I was a dog. And I think it's kind of lost now. I think, there's a decent amount of money kicking about in the industry, and people aren't, or necessarily maybe people don't want to be where I'm at. For me, it was like, I was raised to win. I was never raised to just kind of be somewhere. It was always like, you got to work hard and get to the top. So that's my mentality. So, but I think nowadays the industry, people aren't necessarily looking back in time at what was done and what was achieved and how the doors were opened and the sort of pioneers of the sector. More so, they're just kind of up to date currently, and I don't know, maybe it's their loss.
How do you square away that idea of doing more and doing better? Because you're hungry, you're getting at you for years. You got out there and got stuck in to build a business and reputation. But there's always more skin to be tattooed. It's a bit like when it comes to watches. For me, it's like, oh shit, there's more watches you could own. There's more watches you could learn about. There's always more. How do you square that away in your mind just to give yourself a bit of peace of mind?
I think my dad's been a huge role model and a huge figure throughout my life. Every time I've ever spoken publicly, I've mentioned him. He's a big inspiration, and he's like, it's cliche, but he's the best friend. I speak to him every day. And me and him would chat regularly, you know, about where we're at in my career and what I wanted to achieve. And I think for us, it was very much like, oh, we'd love to get to the stage where I was tattooing a few of the Watford football players, because I'm a Watford fan, you know. So
oh, there'll be comments coming in left, right, centre.
Hammer me, but I was born in Watford Hospital, so feel free. But I grew up supporting Watford, and then my dad always said, oh, it'd be wicked to see you tattooing a few Watford players. And in my head, I'd always said I want to try and achieve that for him and I wanted to have like some sort of signature product within the industry. I'm a massive fan of product, fashion, fragrance, everything, all the different sectors. And eventually the way my career went, we ended up sort of tattooing, like, you know, I think there was an England game recently where I tattooed 9 of the England players. And, you know, like, not only are they players there, I like to call a lot of them my friends. And through that, we had also got out signature needles, and I think I was just at peace with the fact I'd overachieved to what I wanted to achieve in terms of my personal career. So for me now, I'm far more interested in developing the business and scaling the business. I had a very an amazing career. I'm very, very grateful for it. I'm still working hard and I'm still tattooing, but for me now, there's a lot more focus on what we can do, building sort of a global sort of lifestyle tattoo brand and the things that come along with that.
Who was that first Watford player that you got to tattoo?
The first Watford player I ended up tattooing was Daniel Backman, the goalkeeper. But that actually came later down the line. I tattooed all these other players, and then Dan came along later. He's our goalkeeper. But we had a funny moment where someone had asked on an Instagram question and answer thing, what dream footballer would you like to tattoo? And I came out and said Troy Deeney, because for me, like, Troy was the man growing up, like. And I think a lot of people thought I was just bantering, but I was serious. Like, you know, I've got a lot of amazing memories with Troy.
Sorry, Brett.
No,
just realised that is.
Troy was the man for me, and actually through that post, him and I ended up connecting and becoming like sort of online friends. And now we sort of like reach out sort of intermittently and sort of keep in touch and check in. And it's for someone who brought me so much sort of like highs and lows, points, like memories, it's amazing to now call him sort of a friend. And, you know, I feel very, very privileged and lucky to have these.
You touched on the fact that you like these different categories as well. You've got an interest in all these different design categories. When did watches come into this? Because the boys, inevitably, you were tattooing, you know, you would observe what guys are rocking in with. And
I think I was lucky enough to actually be educating those guys by that point. For me, watches, I guess, how I got into watches, I must have been 21, 22, had no dough, still grafting, but like right at the start. And I remember getting tattooed by someone. It was this gentleman, Chad Coplinger and Bert Crack. They'd done these tattoos on me. And when I went into that tattoo shop, they both had like subs on, stainless steel subs, black dial, black bezel. And I remember seeing them, they're big guys, you know, like, and I remember them stretching the arms, and I remember looking down as a kid, and seeing they had a Rolex on. Yeah. And I was like, fuck me, these guys are like rich, you know, like I was thinking as a junior kid, like tattooer, I was like, I need to work to get a Rolex. So like when I'm tattooing, like you're like, you know, if I was tattooing, like you're looking down and it's like, and it wasn't a flex, it was more that I was like, they've achieved a Rolex, and I didn't know anything about it. Other than when I moved to LA, I got, and I was working in Hermosa Beach, California. I got a chat with the guy who owned the store. And he said, how many days a week do you want to work? I knew no one in California other than a handful of people. I said, I want to work 7 days a week until I bought a Rolex. And I worked 7 days a week for 2 months. And I bought a Rolex that's on the table. And then I ended up in hospital with exhaustion. But I had the watch. Yeah. I squirreled away the cash. And then eventually I went to...
Did you get it from an AD?
I went to Bob's Watches. Oh, yeah. I think it's in
Huntington
Beach or somewhere like that. I went to Bob's Watches. I drove there, and they were like, we're shut. And I was like, you're not shut. I want to buy this watch, and I have the exact amount of cash. and I got my first Rolex, and I didn't take it off for many, many years. And I didn't grow up with anything like... my parents looked after me. You know, they worked really hard, but I didn't grow up like... we didn't have Hermes pillows in the house. We didn't have these things. Like I didn't know what anything was, you know. So for me, once I bought a Rolex, I was like, cool, watches, tick it off the list. It's done. I didn't know what a grand complication was. A minute
you'd be diving
repeater.
so deep.
I didn't. It took me another few years to end up being in. I was in a gym training in London, and I saw a gentleman, and he had it turned out it was a 40th anniversary Nautilus on, but we can talk about that later.
Is this the watch?
That is the very first watch of the collection, and I'm very, very grateful to have. I actually wore it yesterday for the first time in years and years. But it's
so why two-tone?
Do you know what? I don't know. I don't know. I just was like ignorantly looking through this pre-owned website, and that one just stuck out, and I was like, yeah, it just stuck out. I don't know what it is, but I still like it to this day. I think it's cool. I can't imagine. I wouldn't have bought like a 5980 bimetal or anything like that nowadays, but you know, I wouldn't wear a bimetal root beer, any of that stuff. But this one, I don't know. I was young, and I guess maybe it was a bit of gold. I don't know. It was just cool.
Still in great nick. Because actually, to be honest, Miles, that's one thing I'm really excited about today is you've got an eye. You know, you're an artist, right? And I think for me, as cliche as it is, watches are an extension of art. You know, and I look at them the same as I look at furniture, and I look at stuff on the wall, and I look at art on the skin. So I'm curious to see what, and I don't know. I've got a little idea of what you got, but and by the way, we've not got 4 Pateks here, although it might look like it. I'm curious to see what it is that your eye brings to the table. So two-tone sub.
Yeah, that was it. That was the one that got it
started.
And I wore this for years and years, and I honestly, it must have been like 4 or 5 years. I honestly thought I'd completed it, like just ignorantly. I just thought I've got a Rolex on. You know, like that was it for me. I never.
People must think that about tattoos, though. From what I don't have a tattoo, but I've heard from friends that do, including Britt, who's filming us today. You get one, and you're like, hey, I'm just going to get that one. You know, I've got an idea of what I want. You know, I've seen it on someone else, maybe, and then suddenly it's like, oh shit, maybe there's a second in me. Maybe there's a second.
Yeah,
it's exactly the same as collecting watches, though.
It definitely, the floodgates opened after I was introduced to Patek. Yeah, the floodgates opened. I suddenly was like blown away, and the story of how I ended up with the Pateks and everything, it makes sense as to why I was so immersed in it. But
so after this, how many years after did your next watch come, and what was it?
My next watch is one of these 4. We're playing roulette. We're playing roulette. So
we've not opened these guys, so I don't really know what Miles has brought, but we haven't opened them. So let's go for the next one. Grab your next one out.
For sure.
Let me
We'll put it down.
Grab pick and mix.
Am I just going to pick and mix and tell the story as it goes?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go this one.
Okay. What's your guess? It's like Christmas Eve when you're handling the presents.
Oh no, it's a very very random one. Not very random, but like different, completely different kettle of fish, and we haven't mentioned them yet.
Oh, okay. It's a VC. Hello.
That's it.
What a choice.
Yeah, we're
good.
We're good. So yeah, this one overseas.
Generation 3.
Yeah, I think it was a combination of being very lucky and slightly hassling the people quite a lot at Harrods to end up with this piece. I ended up finding Vacheron, and I found it during lockdown. Before lockdown, they offered me sort of, this piece was sitting in Harrods, and I was always like I was always drawn to the blue dial. Like they have such a unique blue that like in the sun this hits like crazy. And I was I passed it up the first time, and then sort of post lockdown I'd got another couple of pieces from Vacheron, and I kept sort of, you know, hassling them, asking them when I was going to get in the overseas. And
who is it you work with at Harrods there?
It was Paula, who now went over to Australia.
Oh,
yeah,
Paula, she's amazing.
I
know her really well.
Yeah, she was honestly, she was lovely, and she was always like, we're trying now. But she was a diamond. Honestly, I can't thank her enough. And I was actually at a friend of mine's. You can tell I'm not married. Bloody hell! What's the thing you do before you get married?
Stag.
No, not that way. You have like a part. They had like a pre-wedding party. Is that like a thing? I'm not the only like person.
Engagement
yeah.
Party.
Sorry, it's one of those.
Engagement party. I didn't have one of those.
So they had a big.
I didn't know either.
Yeah. I'm single. No, they had an engagement party, and I ride bikes, like motorbikes, and I'd ridden up. They were living in Newbury in Reading, and I'd ridden up there, and an hour and a half into this engagement party, my phone rang, and it was Paula, and she was like, I have something for you at the boot. And I was like, say no more. I just left. I just left the party and I rode back.
Where's he gone? Where's Miles gone? He's bugged off. He's gone to buy a watch.
I rode back to London, and she was like, listen, we've just had a foreign client just turn this overseas down, and obviously you've bought a few bits and whatnot, and we think you'll be a good ambassador for the brand, or like, we like the fact you're wearing them. And I was like, amazing, yeah, took it, and I wore it on the rubber strap for the majority of its lifespan so far. However, I lost about 6 months ago. I lost the key to like a safety deposit box where I keep all my watches, and I really wanted to wear a stainless watch and a blue dial. So I for the first time I ended up and I had one in the safe and I couldn't get to it. So I ended up putting the bracelet on this, and it was like a whole new watch. I fell in love with it all over again. You know, like I'm a big rubber strap fan on watches. I think they're fantastic. I think it suits me great for, like, I'm an active bloke. I like training, and obviously I tattooing, and I probably abuse my watches probably more than most. But all of a sudden I wore it on a bracelet. The same people would be like, "Oh, that's an amazing watch," and I was like, I've been wearing it. And they were like, no, they didn't
It's a
notice.
fresh take, isn't it?
Yeah, so
it's got maybe a little bit more presence on the wrist because of the full steel vibes.
yeah, it's I know.
But you're right on the blue. It's a lacquer blue, and it's just a really special blue. Now I can see it, and it does come alive, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it really lives.
Yeah,
it
this
really
this
lives.
in summer it's unbelievable.
It's one of the best bracelets because it's a quick change, so you can easily change it. And
you are supposed. It is supposed to be easy.
we won't get you to do it now.
No, I'm not trying to do that on camera. But
it's one of the best bracelets in the business.
Yeah,
and you know what I
100%.
really like is
Go on.
I like the Royal Oak and I like the Nautilus, but this bracelet being matte, fully brushed, it just gives you a different vibe. You can see how much you've worn it just by.
Well, no, this is one of the better condition watches I have, Justin.
Good, man.
Unfortunately.
Good. Love it. And the rotor on that thing, it's an open case back automatic caliber, but that rotor is one of my all-time favourites as well.
It's beautiful.
Stunning.
Bro. It's beautiful. Yeah, very, very, very.
I feel
very
like Vacheron
grateful
one
to
of the
have
big
this.
winners of the lockdown because
Yeah.
I felt that at times people maybe weren't able to get what they wanted from, say, Patek from AP, and then suddenly Vacheron and Langer as well, being inundated with clients, were like, here's an opportunity to wear one, and I know that once you wear one of these from Vacheron, it's no mistake they've been around for so long. Yeah.
Feels like.
Is there a theme? Do you have a theme to your collecting? Is there, in your mind, are you thinking brand, style?
I don't care.
Nothing. Your emotion.
Yeah, I just I like what I like. I don't care, bro. I got all sorts of bits. I'm just into watches. The money, none of that stuff matters to me. If it's expensive or cheap, if I'm into it, I'm into it.
I think this might be the first time we've had a moment together.
This is
a twinning moment.
Our twinning moment. We're here.
Slightly different.
I mean, what an unbelievable piece of kit. I just again when I met Paola, she showed me this, and I looked at it and I was like, that's fucking.
What time is it?
I don't know if you can. I don't know if I'm supposed to swear, but I was like, this is fucking crazy. Like, I just couldn't wrap my head around it. And then I went home. I did a bit of due diligence on the watch. When I get into a watch, I try and learn about it. So I'll be deep on YouTube. I'll be deep reading. Just trying to understand it, and because obviously I think when I bought this watch it was around 31, 32 grand. I can't remember, but if I'm spending 31 or 32 grand, you know, as I said, the younger me didn't have anything. So like, I want to understand what I'm spending that much money on, and I think that's just part of my addictive personality, learning, sort of trying to teach myself.
But isn't that the fun part about collecting?
100%.
The journey you go on, you're like,
It's such
I know
a
about
journey.
that now, I know about that now, I know about that now.
It's great. It's absolutely, and it's exciting, and I still do it now. Anytime I get offered a watch or try and purchase, I still try and understand the story of it. And from what I know, I believe, and I'm going to happily get fact checked here, but I believe the first time they put it out was in 1919. That was the first time that they made one for one person. There's variations on the story of who the person was, and some people say it was for people who were sat and they wanted to look down when they were in certain situations, and they wanted to, without getting caught, checking the time. That's one story I've read.
Like Vickers
That's
reading.
that's one of the stories, and the other one I've got told was it's apparently for when you're driving and you can look down. They're two different variations on the story. Someone from 1919 can tell me the true story. I don't know, but
do you know a third one that I heard recently? And someone called me actually because I did a post on it a while back. In fact, when I bought it, I did a little video. And one of my colleagues that I'd never met before, he called me out of the blue and he said, "Josh, you know what? what you need to understand is that in the war, the American soldiers were taking pocket watches and they were soldering lugs onto them, and then they were having the watches at that angle because you can't solder something like that. So the crown was at an angle, and this was the whole idea, was that actually Vacheron thought they could sell this idea that the soldiers coming back from war would be able to connect with that design, and this was part of the story as well. Only in later years was the driving thing brought into the marketing element, as I understand it. But there's a bit of mystique, which is great.
Which is even better.
No one really knows.
And I believe in 1921 when it was released, I believe they only released 12 pieces.
Very small as well.
Yeah,
very small.
That's what because they do make this in a smaller size as well.
Now.
This is a 41
This is a
40, but it feels big because it's.
They do 36 now.
They do 36.
But to me, this was the size I always liked. For me, that always.
You're doing 42.
40 as well.
It's so 6 in on someone else. Like, it looks so sick.
So this was a yellow. So they did it in yellow gold for a very short period of time.
Beautiful.
And just before I got married, I didn't ask any questions. I mean, actually, I was up to my tits with costs coming out. I was coming out of my eyeballs. Yeah. But they had one left in Watches Switzerland, and I popped in there and I said to the lady, this is the one I want, and she was like, oh, and I was like, yeah, that's apparently it was the last yellow they had, and for me, it's one of the most beautiful designs, and the exploded sort of the oversized Roman Arabic numerals.
Yeah, it's just everything about it is it's stunning. I just think it's an amazing piece.
Please tell me you've been tattooing someone and they've questioned you about that. Someone must have asked you a question.
I think. Do you know what? Every time I wear this watch, because every watch I own bar one I wear. I've got one watch I've never put on my wrist. But every time I wear this, someone passes comment, and as I said at the start, there's almost a funny story with all of them when I purchased them. But I'd got onto Paola and I said, you know what, I'm gonna take that 1921. I'll start my Vacheron collection with a 1921. And she was like, oh, okay, it's got. I think one of the rappers wore it, and it got a little bit popular for a second. And so she was like, unfortunately, there's a little bit of a backlog. And I was like, I didn't langer it. I was like, fuck it, I'll just be patient. And you know what? I just finished training. I was in a full tracksuit, just walking around Selfridges, and they had one in the Selfridges in the glass case in Selfridges. And I said to one of the sales assistant, who probably wasn't that helpful, I said, oh, obviously I was wearing a full tracksuit, but I was like, oh, is that watch for sale? And he was like, what one? And I was like, the 1921. He was like, oh, which one is that? And I was like, this piece. And he was like, yeah, I think so. I was like, cool, I'll take it. And he was like,
made his day.
He was like, what do you mean? I was like, I'll buy it now. Like, that's fine. I'll just take it. And I was like, it's a 1921. It's for Vacheron. This is, and he was just like, I just taught him about the watch, and he was just like,
you know what, my experience was exactly the same. She was like, whoa. I didn't have a clue. And actually, to be fair, it wasn't part of the Vacheron boutique. She was downstairs, and she happened to be upstairs.
It's cool,
it's a funny moment, isn't it?
Yeah, they were just looking at you, and I was just like, no, I'm mad into watches, bro. And he was just like, okay. And he was like, you know how much it costs? I was like, yeah, I'm ready. Like, I phoned Paola. I was like, listen, I've done something. I'm gonna need you to like put this on my Harrods, my resume of what I bought for Vacherons, because I wanted to get an overseas eventually. And I don't know how she made it happen, but I guess she spoke to someone high up in Vacheron, was like, listen, we have this kid, this is what he does, blah, blah, blah. And he got a chance to buy this watch. He wasn't bullshitting when he said he wanted a 1921. And you can see by the strap all curved, like, oh, I've worn it.
Yeah.
I've worn it.
I
love it, bro. I love it.
Hammer-on caliber, 4400 in-house caliber, beautifully decorated. That's probably a part of the watchmaking world that must be of interest, is the actual decoration on movements, because having been out to a few of these manufacturers over the years, it's incredible to just see the artistry that goes on.
I got a toxic trait, and that was when I was at the Patek factory. I was very, 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 very privileged and lucky that Ed, the director from London, he agreed to take me on one of the trips to Geneva to see the factory with some of our friends, and I was watching them like hand enamel one of the dials, and I was like, my hand is. I reckon I can do this. Like, obviously, I didn't get to have a go, but I was watching them sort of like paint with these glasses, and I was like, how dissimilar can it be having a steady hand? But they didn't give me a go, which I understand why. But I would love to try hand enameling one day.
That would be a cool collab down the line. Is a cloisonné enamel dial.
Yeah, 100%.
Made by you.
100%.
Very classic. Very classic.
Fire into Thierry or whoever's listening. I want to do an enamel dial.
From Patek, yeah,
someone hook me up.
Shouting the big man out. Awesome. All right. Okay. What's next?
What's next? Oh, this is a good one.
Hey?
This
Come
is
on,
a good
come on
one,
at us.
but I don't know if that one's... Let's do it in this order.
Okay.
Because
All right.
this was
Christ
this is the
almighty.
introduction. And you won't have seen a worse condition one, but I'm more than happy with that, and so are the guys at New Bond Street.
All right, there we go. You can see immediately on that strap what we're dealing with.
Yeah. This is a very, very battered 5164.
Reference code numbers coming
that's
out.
it, that's
Aquanaut for those out there.
Travel time Aquanaut. This was my introduction to Patek Philippe. This meant a lot to me. It still does. It still baffles me that I was able to own something like this and to develop and to become a part of their family. And I have nothing but love and respect for those guys. They've looked after me as friends and as a customer for a long time now. And I'm very, very, very grateful to Ed, to David, and to everyone else involved in that salon and Geneva, because they honestly, I know it's cliche that people say with watches and being part of a family and you hear this spiel. But honestly, for those guys, since I became a client, I've been welcomed at any time. They've obviously managed expectations fantastically, and Ed's a very diplomatic, wise man, and yeah, I have honestly very, very, very. I hold them in very high regard. I feel very privileged to have a collection of their watches.
So this was the first.
This was the first.
Why the Aquanaut?
You'll have to ask Revo. He gave it to me. I went in recently after starting the London Social, so 4.5 years ago or so. I went in and I had an interesting experience with some other companies, but I went into Patek, and obviously, I'm aware my appearance can be a bit different to the regular watch collector or whatever. And I went in and I said hello to the doorman, to the watchmaker, to the host, to everyone. Just said hello, and I sat down with Dave, and Dave was like, okay, like he took his time and he showed me a 5205. I remember a 5205 Rose, which I now believe has been discontinued, and a couple of other pieces. And he said, "Oh, register your interest." And I was like, oh, it's been lovely to meet you, but I heard the 4-year stories about these. I said, which ironically meant I would probably be getting it now if the list were a real thing. But I said, I said, "You're all right, mate. I really appreciate your time today, but no, it's okay. I won't register." He said, "Oh, no, go on, register." I said, "Oh, it's all right, honestly, it's all right." Anyway, by the end of I was in there for about an hour, and by the end, he said, "Oh, give us your I said, "Oh, go on in." I wrote my details down. I said, "I'm not expecting anything, so don't worry." But I left, said thanks to everyone, left, and Dave and I sort of had followed each other on Instagram afterwards, and I was driving home. I think I got home, clicked on his page, and I go on one of the pictures, and it's him, I think, playing golf or something, and there's a Stormzy below. He's just commented a little plug symbol. And I was like, that's weird. And then the next picture, I think Daniel Sturridge was like a hat, and I was like, you must have some interesting clients. And me and him kept in touch, just literally talked football and boxing. I never mentioned watches to him once. We just literally, he was a Palace fan, poor sod, and Dave messaged me on Instagram and said, "Oh, you around tomorrow?" I said, I can be. How come? He said, "I've got you an Aquanaut. What's the deal?" Like, he was like, "You come in and you buy the watch. What do you mean?" And I was like, "Well, like for retail?" And he was like, "Yes, you come in and buy the like." For retail. I just hear all these crazy stories. So I started rallying around. How the fuck am I gonna get this money liquid? Like, I was like, oh, I can't leave him waiting. So I went in the next day, and I was like, still waiting for it to be like a joke. And he come out, he was like, "I got you your watch, blah, blah, blah." And I was just like, wow, like, thank you. Like, obviously so grateful. Put it on. I remember driving home, just like, didn't even really look at the road. I was just looking at my wrist. And
was it the travel time that you tried on originally with them, or was it just the time only?
No, they didn't have this one when I went in. I just tried on more classic pieces. I believe the story is Ed's, as I said, he's quite like he's a wise, quiet, mysterious guy. But I believe the story goes that because I'd gone in and as I'd been so sort of polite to every single person, and I'd said thank you. I don't think, from what I got told, that they see that so often from someone as a younger guy coming in. Like, I was like, thank you to this. I was like, just thanks for having me, like, excited and really like grateful. And I think somewhere along the line, either David repeated it or Ed saw or something, but they basically were just like, he can have a watch. And I've worn this 3,000 miles across America on Harleys. I've worn this in Capri, in the ocean, everywhere you can think of. And We were in Texas recently riding, and it was 113. And I've got a group chat with Ed in it, and I text him a picture, and the whole watch was just sunscreen. I'd put you couldn't see the dial, and I was like, I'm protecting the watch at the same time. And Ed was like, he's like, just forward it to Jerome at Geneva. He was like, fucking hell. But I think they love it because
it's being worn, man. It's being
you can
used.
take a look at it.
It's being worn. It's being used.
It's abused. It's loved. It's worn. It's caressed. But it's.
Wow.
Do you know what it was? When I seen the picture of Thierry wearing the 5740 when he came off that bike, which was scratched to shit, I was like, that's a cool looking Patek. And so I've never been precious about them since. I've always just...
And this grenade, this rubber strap is just so comfortable, right?
I will go on record and say that's the best rubber strap on any watch.
Yeah.
It buries any of the other ones, the Oyster Flex, the APs, all that. That's the best rubber strap for me.
And the travel time element, the sort of GMT, do you use that? Because you do travel to the States a lot.
That's I use every complication on that watch. The functionality of that watch, if I could make a watch from scratch, that would be it. Yeah. There's nothing I would change on that watch. It is literally the perfect watch. So sorry to everyone now that it's been discontinued, but...
It's so balanced. The dial's so balanced.
It's just perfect. It's... if I had to give them all away and nothing to do with sentimental value, if I just had to wear one watch and it could have nothing else be a determining factor, that's the piece I would wear.
Did we catch that? We got that.
There you
Boom! What a watch! You can see it, you can feel it. Top man.
It's really amazing. It's amazing. You know,
we could be here all day.
No, we could. These are just some of the key pieces I wanted to.
Yeah, no. Just to be clear, Mar's been very kind to bring these, but there are others. We thought this would be a nice taster.
I wanted to do a selection box, and I wanted it to have variety, and I wanted to bring all the watches that kind of had a story behind them. That was the most important thing, because I think that's a big part of horology and collecting is that most of the time we have these pieces and they tell a story of how you've ended up with them, or why you've ended up with them, or what they mean to you, and I think they evoke certain emotions, and a big part of my work and my business is storytelling. So I try and convey that with this. So again, this I'll show you. This is an incredible...
Oh my God, just wait. That's a limited edition for...
So this is one of 300, white gold on alligator, New York edition, 2017 release of a Patek World Time.
Was it for the New York Salon specifically?
I think it was... Ed's going to kill me if he sees this. I think they did a World Time exhibition in 2017, and this is the piece that went along with it.
And then they came to London, actually, a couple of years later.
Yes,
they did one in the Versace gallery.
And they've done it in Tokyo as well, I believe, with the purple, with the...
Dude, it's sick.
I'm sure there's people who watch these things who are just going to be like, I'm going to fuck him up here. But I think with Tokyo, they did like a purple piece on it.
The fact you've gone for a World Timer from Patek says a lot about the taste levels, I think.
No, do you know, like, I first saw the World Timer with the... Don't kill me. It's the 5131 or 5130. It's the on the bracelet with the enamel dial of the world.
Yep.
That was the first World Timer I saw, and I don't know what it is that stood out to me, but I fell in love with the enamel dials, and I was introduced to this watch. I think Ed probably said to me, "Oh, they done a New York edition once upon a time," and I was like, "What?" And then he was like, "Yeah," and then I found out. It has the skyline on the dial, and I think it's one of very few watches that actually on the clear case back. I don't know if you know this, you probably will, but it actually says Patek 2017 New York on the glass.
On the crystal,
crystal, sorry, but it's.
But I could see immediately on the dial there. I could see the sky.
Yeah, and this is another watch that hits even harder in the sun. So I found this. So I found this watch online and. I did the normal. I went on to Chrono 2024 and I messaged. There was 8 listings of the watch. I messaged all of them. They're all around the same sort of price. I messaged all of them and said, "Do you actually have the watch, or are you just going to be able to source it?" And I think 5 of them replied, being like, "No, we can source it for you." And I was like, "Nah. I want someone who's actually got it." And then I found a couple of the watch dealers again on Instagram. So I shot them a couple of messages. A couple of people don't have it, could source it, cost you this. Nah, not interested. Anyway, a couple months go by. Forgive me, I forget the name, but I know the watch boutique was in Tarrytown, upstate New York. Okay. And it was around. I was messaging them around Boxing Day. You know, when you're at home, you've got a bit of downtime. and this company comes back and goes, "Hey mate, sorry, we saw your message from 3 months ago. We missed it. We've got it sitting in the safe. It's for the price advertised. Do you want to, we can do a deal on it?" I said, "You got it, yeah?" They're like, "Yeah, we have it. And I said, it's boxing. I said, I'll be there January the 2nd. I said, if you can hold it, I'll be there January the 2nd. I'll fly to New York just to buy the watch. And they were like, yeah, sure, no problem. So we flew to New York, landed, drove straight from the airport up to Tarrytown, straight off the plane. I also had forgotten my wallet. I realised at the airport I'd forgotten my wallet, which is very, very unlike me.
You left it at the airport?
No, I'd left it at my house.
Just didn't come with
Just
it?
didn't bring my wallet to New York for the whole trip.
That's slightly concerning when you're about to go and
make a substantial purchase.
Just for one reason for the trip.
So luckily at the time I had a PA who was like, she managed to set up my Apple Pay and all sorts. Anyway, we made it work, but I drove up to...
What's the limit on Apple Pay? Quite high.
It worked. It worked, that's all I know. But I drove up to Tarrytown and it was a strip mall. So for anyone not familiar who's not watching from the States, it's like a shit kind of parade of shops. You know, like, it's not the most glamorous way of describing it, but in the window it was like used gold for sale, like crap, like hopefully the watch isn't fake, to be fair. But no, they it was all, and in the window it had a lot of like Datejust and women's stuff and like aftermarket, and I was like, fucking hell, they're really gonna have a world time right now. Yeah. Anyway, this old boy comes out and he's like, I've been dealing watches for 30 years. He said, do you know how you've ended up with this watch? I said, well, I kind of do, but I didn't know how you've still got it. And basically the captain of the New York Rangers hockey team had done a handshake deal with him on the watch to buy this one, obviously, you know, the New York skyline, all of this. And when he'd gone to collect it, he tried to change the price. And this old boy, being stubborn, was like, I don't want to sell it to you now. He said, you've just lost your watch. I'm not selling it to you. We'd done a deal. You went back on it, so it's not yours anymore. And so he was like, that's why when you said the deal's done, I said deal's done. And he sold it to me. So I got it basically off the guy who couldn't get it from the Rangers, which was quite funny. But
amazing. For
me, when I left New York in 2017, and I left with a trade, which is tattooing, and I left with my Yankees cap. Not this exact one, but that was the two things I kind of brought back to England with me. And to go back 4 or 5 years later and to buy a New York edition, one of 300 white gold Patek on a blue alligator strap meant the world to me. And it's something that I'll forever remind myself when I pass it down to my kids. I'll forever remind myself of the years I got to spend and learn hustling in New York. You know, it's a reminder of the process, and it's something that I'll always hold this watch dear to my heart. It means more. Like, I don't care about the value. I don't care if it goes up, goes down. I couldn't give a fuck. I'm so proud to have this piece, and it's a milestone for me. It's a massive marker. So yeah,
beautiful, man. And you know what? From a design perspective, it's standout. You know, you can see that from across the room. You know what it is.
Yeah. Well, not me. I don't know. You would.
I like that.
I don't know. It's definitely a watch person's watch. You know, I don't think, you know, because of the alligator and all that. I don't think. But when we were out at the factory in Geneva, I sat with Jerome. They put me next to him. I don't know if I'm supposed to say, but he rides a Harley as well. If you didn't know, now you know. And so they put me next to Jerome because they knew I wasn't going to chew his ear off about like what the next Nautilus is. And I was wearing that, and he was like, I don't want to know how you have this watch because it's for our American clients only in 2017, but I think it's very cool that you have that watch, you know? So that was a nice...
Do you know what I love about it? A couple of things. Its proportions are beautiful. The case is stunning. These lugs, the way these lugs are soldered to that central case. And then the enamel piece is just beautiful.
Yeah.
And the guilloche finish. And then the way the cities, the ring, the font they've used is actually spectacular.
No, it's
just so... And the hands. It's actually quite legible as well. The markers...
No, very, very, very.
With the markers, battle markers in the middle, it's actually quite clear what's...
Because I find sometimes now with the new versions of the World Time or the new releases they've done, sometimes it's a little bit busy for me. But what I did find interesting was at Watches and Wonders, they just figured out that problem where the whole world is on the same date for like 1 hour of the day. And I know in that new piece they just did, like they had that big plastic kind of like toy machine thing they were showing everyone. But they kind of solved it, which I thought was immense progression to have like that new...
I can see now on the case back, now you're saying it, I can see the salon. So it was New York's, Patek Philippe New York 2017.
Yeah. I don't know how someone bought that watch and got rid of it. I mean, God bless them for getting rid of it, but
it's stunning. It's
stunning. Yeah, that is one piece I wish I wore more. I'll confess I don't wear it. I don't wear it enough, but it is, again, it's because if I'm wearing a watch, I wear it in the gym and I wear it in the sauna, and that watch I won't wear in the sauna, but I will train in that watch if I'm in the gym and I've got it on. I will use it. I will use it, but I'm more careful with that watch than some of the others because I know it's a bit more delicate and.
It's wonderful.
It's
the blue strap, by the way, as well, just is the kicker.
Phenomenal, huh?
Absolutely lovely. And you got London there as your home time at 12.
That's it. Yeah, I'll say every time I wear a watch, the first thing I do is set the date, set the time. Everything is set to wear. So any piece I have will always, like, even if it puts me back 5 minutes, I'll have to get it. So like, I just don't want to be sat somewhere. I won't name him. I won't name and shame him, but. One of the footballers that I tattoo, he plays for Man United now. I don't know, you could probably work it out, but he came to get tattooed recently-ish, and he had got a rose travel time, and the date, the time, everything was wrong. And I was like, what? He was like, I just wear it for show. Like, I said, give me your watch. I set it all up for him and got it all right. But next time I saw him, it was all wrong again. I just can't be that guy. I like it all to be. I like cleaning them, setting it, messing with them. I've got like the Patek like stuff that you like, you know, the little pushers and all. I don't know. I take pleasure in all of it. You know, I'm a nerd and
same.
I enjoy it all.
For anyone out there who's not like that, it's hard to get your head around. But actually, I get it totally.
No, it's wicked.
Your last one then, Moz. Your last one.
The last one, the final one. This is the most recent one. I traded the Aquanaut last summer with someone for 2 weeks, and they had this one on, and it's a close friend, so we trust each other to do stuff like that. But he let me borrow this day date. I'd always wanted something in 36. I think it's super cool. I think the history of it. I think there's definitely some interesting characters who have worn it in the past. You know, we know who those guys are, but there's some super cool people have worn it.
The word icon gets overused in the world of watch making, but it's iconic.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I said to myself, you know what, you're going to go into a shop one day, and I said, you're not going to go and source it online. You've got to find it in a shop one day from around your birth year. And I was in New York, and I was in New York, and I went in, and there was a woman, again, similar sort of situation. I was like, what year is the day date? If it's 1990, I'll buy it. And she was like, I think it might be. I was like, well, we just got an expensive trip if it is. But she came back and was like, do you know what? It's actually from 88. So I passed one up about 18 months ago. And then I wore my friends, and I was adamant. I knew I wanted it. I wore it when I had his. I just never took it off. I was like, this is unbelievable. And I always wanted it. It's the only watch I wear loose. Every all my other watches are firm there. But this one I wear loose, like 2-pack, and like I just think it's how they used to wear them, and I just think it's like kind of cool. It's a bit different, and very randomly I kept putting it off. Couldn't figure out why I wasn't buying it because I knew I'd wear it a lot. And then I had done some business. Someone had asked for an introduction. I sent a text and didn't think anything of it. Later, like a year later, someone phoned me and said, "Oh, do you know what? I owe you quite a bit of money for that text." And basically I was like, do you know what? I wasn't expecting that money. So with the money, I just went and found this one in the Burlington Arcade. I got it 1991 full set. And it was just, I was like, do you know what? Let's put that money into this. I wasn't expecting it. And do
you know what? The size works brilliantly on you as well.
Oh, it's unreal.
It's a great size.
Unreal, bro. I haven't literally, like, I bought it and was like, I nearly got roped into one of those fucking like ruby lace styles. I started going like, I was thinking, fucking hell, it's small. Like maybe I need to like a bit louder. I love like the.
No, but it's got that balance, hasn't it? It's loud, but it's also delicate and elegant in that size. It's
made me fall in love with day dates. I do like my Rolex. Like I obviously like the platinum Daytonas and a couple of like the sort of the more off catalog, off pieces, the Eisenkiesel dial, the Meteorite GMT, the white gold one. There's a couple of kind of like bit more out there pieces that I love. But it's made me fall in love with day dates. Now I'm thinking, fucking hell, maybe I should get the 40 as well, just for a different occasion. Or and I know they make an amazing Centrelink diamond bracelet as well, which I think looks unbelievable. They did offer me a Pave dial one the other day in one of the places in London, 40mm part, and I tried it on. It did look the bollocks, but I said to myself, I was like, you can't go anywhere wearing this watch without someone thinking you're an arsehole. There's no occasion where you can wear that watch without someone being like, you're a dickhead. I was going weddings, funerals, fucking bar mitzvahs. I was like, where can I have this watch on where someone's not going to think I'm a twat? And there wasn't one situation, so I passed on it. But I may bite the bullet and do a 40mm as well, We got some big business to take care of, so once we take care of that, maybe we'll get stuck in.
Final question, Miles. Then, what is that grail? Is there one in your mind that keeps you up at night at the moment? Because I'm well aware these things change.
Yeah.
You can see with my world here, they pop up and they disappear, and then what's it at the moment?
It's an interesting one because not necessarily pieces that I've had here, but I've been very, very fortunate enough with the relationship I've had with Patek that they've ticked a few of those pieces off the list as it's kind of grown. Right now, believe it or not, I'm not waiting for a single watch, which is like the first time in a few years. I'm not waiting for anything. There's certain pieces that come up that I'm obviously in awe of.
Do you know what? That's a good thing.
I think
you're in a good place.
Yes, I'm kind of chilling. There's always, listen, don't get me wrong. There's like some beautiful pieces. I would like the world timer on a bracelet, but right now I don't believe they manufacture it on a bracelet anymore, for one, and two, the current world timer with the enamel in it is Asia and Australasia. So we're kind of waiting for it to be something more relevant to me. I'm a big rare handcrafts guy, and Ed and I have been discussing that for a few years, waiting for either.
Did you see the surfer?
Yeah. I went. Someone posted it on Instagram. They posted about 100 stories that day, and I went through and watched every single one. I have all the rare handcraft books. Yeah. So I'm a big into those, but.
The wood marquetry. Wow.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
You might have seen them already, but Vacheron have done some métier d'art over the years.
Oh,
don't. Bats. And angels and other things like.
I feel like they're slept on. Some of those, like
I'm actually going to send you
the
one.
Vacheron rare handcraft type pieces are like. I seen one recently with like the ship and a map on it. So it's fucking incredible, like artistry.
I just got a Mercator with a world time. So it's the retrograde hours and minutes one, and it's an enamel world on it that the original cartographer Mercator, his maps are on it. But you're right.
The Vacheron world timer, I've always been a big fan of because it looks. I feel like it has that map type finished dial, but it's 42 mil, and I'm slim. It's too big for me. But in terms of Grail,
you've answered it. Something rare handcrafts, métier d'art. That's it. That's where you're at, and I think that's almost where most people end. It's like, well, I've come on this journey. I don't know where you can go from there.
There's one other person that I would buy a watch from, and I don't know if I'm going to get slated for saying the name wrong, and I believe he's one of the last people doing the entire process. And you'll have to correct the name, or someone will take pleasure in correcting the name. But it's like Philippe Dufour.
Philippe Dufour, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, right. I love the fact that there's someone out there still doing the process start to finish. I think that's to my best of my knowledge, he's someone that I would love to learn further about and potentially end up with something.
Not dissimilar to Roger Smith out in the Isle of Man, and he his process is pretty honest and authentic in sort of hand making almost everything. But Philippe Dufour is very, very elegant. I mean, his dials are to me some of the most beautiful, and the finishing of the movement, the time, and he's been out. He's spent a lot of time in Japan with other brands, educating on how to finish, because the wood they use to finish is.
I think he's one of the only people that I've only managed to see one of them in the flesh. Yeah. But I maybe I should spend more
simplicity model
time.
So what we're saying, guys, is we're saying Miles will come back on and there'll be another chat when you get your Dufour and your rare handcraft from Patek. We'll come back and do another.
If not, I'll be sitting here with a fuck off RM with diamonds on it. No, I'm kidding. I'd never do that.
Top man, thank you so much.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Guys, thanks for joining us. Please leave your comments below for the man. We're excited to hear what you thought of that one.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Catch you soon.
Pleasure.